Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me for another of my amazing interviews. Today I'm with the lovely Julia again, and our special guest is Eleanor Haji. Is that Haji? Haji.
Yeah.
So now, Eleanor, you have devised something called OneMindCAN, well, I'm going to get you to explain it because you know more about it, but it's an initiative to put together a whole new way of looking at life, communities, and moving away from the system that a lot of us are beginning to realise has not been very beneficial to all of us. Is that pretty much the thing?
Yes. So basically, we founded OneMindCAN in 2021. We are we call ourselves a conscious community of changemakers. And we have, over the last few years, brought through a number of kind of sort of ethical frameworks and templates and developed a kind of a step-by-step process for communities to help communities bring through local conscious community hubs and to help seed sort of heart-based enterprises.
Okay, so let's unpack some of that because some of that, I mean, you've lived with this, as you say, for a long time and you understand it completely. And my job, and Julia, is to try and put this into layman's terms so that we all kind of understand it. So first, you mentioned heart-based communities, I think you said. Or heart-based, that's right?
Yeah.
What do you mean by, I mean, I think we understand what heart is, but what does that mean?
So the current system, is based on an economic system, an economic calculus, where it is profit driven.
Yes.
Okay, and a heart-based system basically is a 180-degree flip on that. It's based on, it puts our human health and well-being first, and also the health and well-being of the Earth's ecosystems. So,
much more natural system.
Exactly.
A loving system.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's aligned with nature's principles of harmony and aligned with natural law.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think a lot of people do realise, particularly at the moment, they're all beginning to wake up that there's something not quite right. They've felt as if they've been oppressed, but it's not like in China where it's obvious. However, I think people are aware that there is a better way of doing things, and this is really what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Which speaks to humanity, to our heart, to our soul, to our spirituality.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
So, OneMindCAN, can you explain where the name comes from?
Yeah, so originally One Higher Mind Community Abundance Network. So the idea is really to create this platform for collaborative solidarity. So where we have sort of tried to make it as easy as possible for communities to be able to bring through their local, what we call New Earth community-based systems. So yeah, it's really a platform to bring everyone together, hopefully. And we're also, as a huge part of that, as well as sort of creating these, frameworks and the guidance and the step-by-step process, is an empowerment, a conscious community empowerment platform as well for conscious education, transformational learning. And that's a huge part of what we're doing here in Hampshire and West Sussex by bringing through these pilot projects and showcases for the first sort of physical community hubs and trialling all of these sort of frameworks,
So is this something that you want to see rolled out across the rest of Great Britain or indeed the rest of the world? Is it sort of a philosophy for a new way of looking at things?
Yeah, very, very much so. And we'd like to inspire other communities and to empower other communities and, to foster a decentralized community system that we're calling for or advocating a transparent, an ethical, equitable, regenerative, community and heart-based system. So again, that 180-degree reversal rather than that top-down centralised system, a bottom-up community-led system.
And so community-led, that means the people themselves.
Yes.
Empowering themselves and making decisions for themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And I think you said you were trialing things here because we're in Hampshire, and you said Hampshire and Sussex, where you're, I suppose, demonstrating how this can work, and then other people can come along, find out how it works, get involved, get excited that there is another way to our
existence.
Yes, our existence, and rode out of some of the problems that we have seen, what with particularly the economic, with the banks falling apart, and this very tyrannical dictatorship style government that we have at the moment. So tell me about some of the initiatives that you're doing here in Hampshire.
Yeah. So one of the initiatives, so some of the frameworks we've brought through are for a self-organising community. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of holacracy and sociocracy. So the templates that we've created for the self-organising community, there's quite a few sectors. It's, we're moving from a centralised system to a decentralised system.
So sort of grassroots.
Exactly.
Type thing, yeah.
So we need to be able to have our circles and our sectors, our health and well-being, our regenerative agriculture, our local tribunals, and in every sector from our local community assembly, I guess. The initiating process is through bringing through our local community hubs. Okay, and I mentioned to you earlier about the changemakers can workshops and about us being a community empowerment organisation. So the changemakers can workshops where we can roll these out nationally. We can basically help coach and mentor communities through this process of personal empowerment, stepping into our power, reclaiming sovereignty, reclaiming consciousness, and coaching and mentoring to really help communities tap into their heart-based passions and potential. And the idea is that we want everyone to get clear on what does their best life look like, okay? What do they feel called to contribute to their community, and how can they make a living from giving back to their community? Whether that's working in the local market garden, or bringing through a healing centre, or working within sovereignty, or any of the sort of community sector aspects. We are, as a part of this initiative, as we do roll out further down the line, probably next year, we really would love to invite, conscious communities who have been, working all this time on these amazing projects that are coming through all over the country, all over the earth,
Yeah.
to really share what they're doing. We want to really create that platform to really help accelerate this new community, this what we call a New Earth community and heart-based system. We're seeing what's happened over the last few years. We're focusing on this as being an opportunity. Rather than focusing on, the unravelling and all that's going wrong. If we focus on this is really the greatest opportunity that we've all been offered to really bring through these this new way of doing stuff, and anchoring a new way of being and a new way of doing. But at practical terms, with the local communities, for example, what we're doing here with the pilot projects is that we're launching, just starting with the first sector, which is regenerative agriculture.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're
And
bringing
we're
through.
very big on that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Really? Well, we're trying to be.
Yeah.
We're trying
Will
to
be.
Trying to get our hands into it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Roll our sleeves up, get stuck in. Is that we have plans to bring through our first community-supported agriculture market garden.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm not sure if you hadn't heard of community-supported agriculture. So just to
I hadn't heard of the.
explain.
I mean, I probably know what you're talking about, but it's sometimes the labels.
The terminology is
Yeah,
a
the
bit beyond us.
terminology
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the thing gets a bit beyond me. But I can understand people gathering together to set up a market garden,
Yeah.
and that they're growing stuff and then they're selling it to each other and others.
Yes, exactly. So it's that what we call a co-production model.
Right.
Yeah. So what we're trying to, or what we are doing, or going to be doing, is basically with the models that we've created, we want to lower the barriers to access for all communities. So by offering either the opportunity to contribute time, energy, okay.
So that's what we're just working and putting in effort.
Exactly. Inspired by Michael Tellinger's contributionism model.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's coming on my show with his One Small Town, is it?
Oh, amazing. Great.
So people hopefully will watch that when it comes out.
Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with his work yet.
Right. Okay. So just to touch on it, so the idea is that we contribute energy towards our new community, self-organising community. People will be able to contribute time, but starting with our pilot project and the regenerative agriculture market garden, you can, for those who do not have the physical time to contribute, they can contribute financial energy.
Right. So is that a bit like we interviewed Kiva and Law, who have My Little Farm.
Yes.
And at a very primitive level, I suppose, people can invest in the land, or they can invest by just coming and growing stuff. But ultimately, everybody who invests, whether financially or with physical labour, can get something out of it, i.e. the food. The people who are investing in the land, of course, their investment might make a profit down the line, should they wish to sell it. I don't quite know how that bit works. But at the same time, at the base level, you've got people coming in and just having a good time and getting on with each other and humanity. So they're laughing and joking, but they're still doing the work that needs to be done, and they're eating the produce together, or they're taking it back to their families and friends who perhaps haven't got the time and effort to get involved. So is that the same sort of thing?
It's very much a part of it. It's about community building.
Right.
You know, the current system has, had us in separation and, all doing our own thing. So really, this is a relearning from the bottom up, from the grassroots up.
Yes.
In everything we do. Community building, community coherence, learning to work together as a self-organising community. There are so many benefits to this, well-being. It's not just the food, it's not just the financial.
Right.
It's really, conscious education, and, it's...
When you say conscious education...
Yeah. Okay, so I think, many of us are familiar now that the current sort of education systems that are in place are essentially corrupted.
Yeah.
By, how do you say, global strategists, perhaps?
Yes, I think you'd definitely say global strategists. I think most people would agree. And the state is pushing down their narratives.
But for now, starting at the grassroots, we're having to re-educate ourselves, aren't we? And,
right.
Because everything is not the way
not as it should be.
Not as it should be.
So I guess what you're saying there is that we have been, for generations now, brought up in a world that has manipulated us, and we're not, it's like the frog in the water thing. We're being boiled alive. We don't know that that's happening to us, and we've been pushed down these very narrow channels. And it sounds like you're saying we need to wake people up to the fact that they're in these channels and they're not realising the potential that they have got inert in themselves.
But it's also going back to, mindset shift, and where we lay our focus expands, So really, rather than focusing on, the current rig system and we're putting, and the barriers to us bringing in the new, we focus on really bringing through that, the heart base and the regenerative stuff that is aligned with nature's principles and natural law. When you're doing stuff for the benefit of your community and the wider community, why should that even have to factor in? We're not doing anything illegal. Mm-hmm. We're not doing anything wrong. The current system, we have to really stop empowering it, okay? Because they can only really make moves, tyrannical moves, if they, if there is some disaster manufactured. Okay, for example, the COVID thing. Okay, they can only really encroach on everything. Well, obviously incrementally in the background, which they've been doing for a very, very long time. But with regards to us, we're fortunate, like you say, that we're not in China.
Yeah. Oh my God, aren't we?
Yeah.
How can people find out more? Because people watching this may go, wow, that sounds really interesting. We want to dig deeper, find out how it works, how to get involved and all of that.
Yeah, so we're in the process of launching, we have launched the Food Abundance Network, and this will be our first community hub that we're launching, and also the OneMindCAN website. They're both are just about to be launched now. There's holding pages that I'm hoping they will be by the time this comes out. So the first is the foodabundancenetwork.org, and then the other is onemindcan.org. And then send an email to info@onemindcan.org if anyone's interested in hearing more.
Yeah, fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for telling us about it, and hopefully people are inspired to go and look at the websites, even though they may only be holding pages and more information.
They'll be there, be there.
But so many people are in the same boat at the moment. They're
Yeah.
setting things up, they're getting excited. And there's a lot when you're trying to launch an initiative to think about, and it can be quite mind-blowing. So be patient, everybody. This is, we're building the new world.
It's an exciting time.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
It all takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
So there you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there you are. Do join me again, and the lovely Julia, when we're out and about doing stuff. In the meantime, I should be back with more interviews and more monologues on the channel. But from Eleanor, Julia and myself, for now, goodbye.